I'm glad to have all y'all on. This is going to be a fun episode. We're going to start right in Kenny's wheelhouse, though, because something really got him fired up a couple of nights ago. A top 107 Disney list was released in the MySA San Antonio newspaper, and Kenny was on fire. Just to give a couple of rankings that were given, and a background to this piece. So, a top 107 list of all Disney cartoon movies, excluding Marvel and Star Wars, was released, and here are some rankings of that list. At dead last, 107 was Fantasia, and at 71 was Snow White. At 49 was Coco. Coco was at 49. At 26
Disrespectful.
was
Disrespectful.
Cinderella. I absolutely agree. And number 4 was Aladdin, which I think is the only one I possibly agreed on that list. And number 1 overall of all Disney movies ever created was Wall-E. So I'll let you guys kind of sit there and dissect that. I asked a sports scientist to kind of curve their expertise and make their top 5 Disney movies of all time. But I'm going to start with Kenny because he actually made an article of his top 25 right after it in response to it. Kenny, why don't you take it away and talk a little bit about Disney movies and what your top 5 on your list were?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty fired up by it just because, like, the guy he was so clueless on his list overall. Like, he had Emperor's New Groove at 81. Like, I don't know. That's a travesty right there. I don't know. Like, just overall, his list was trash. I mean, Lilo and Stitch was at 51. Like, just not acceptable. So I broke out my top 25. You said that he had Fantasia in last. I had it at 25, so it just squeaked into my list because I think that you should really appreciate, even though there's no, like, spoken dialogue, it's still such a great Disney movie. But for my personal top 5, I put Hercules at number 5. It's probably because I'm a huge Greek mythology guy, and I just love that movie. I actually grew up with, like, the Disney plates that they used to come out with, and I had the Hercules one. So, like, I mean, that one was easy for me at number 5. Snow White at number 4, like, I figured that was fair. It has everything that you could really want in a Disney movie. It's got great music, great villain, overall fun characters. Like, the 7 dwarves are just awesome, especially Doc. He was just running the ship. And then I had Aladdin at number 3. I don't know, like, Robin Williams as the genie is, like, one of the best Disney characters of all time. And another one that has great villain, you know, great overall soundtrack. So I figured Aladdin at 3 was fair. Just missing out on my top spot was Toy Story. To clarify, when I did my list, I didn't have any sequels in it. So, like, there was no Toy Story 2, 3, 4. I like those movies, but I felt like it was fair to just be putting originals in there. So I had Toy Story at number 2. I mean, when you've got Tim Allen and Tom Hanks voicing Woody and Buzz Lightyear, like, that's a great duo right there for voices. So I went with Toy Story. And number 1, I had Lion King. I think it should be in everyone's top 5, whether you want to put it at 1 or 5 or wherever in between. I think it's just overall a great movie. I'm talking about the original, not like the redone one a few years ago. So I had The Lion King at number 1 on my list.
All right, Kay, do you have anything different in your top 5?
Oh yeah, my top 5's definitely different than that. I think the only one that we had matching in top 5 was Aladdin. Actually, no, I take that back. Lion King was in my top 5. So at 5, I did have Lion King. Lion King's excellent. Definitely one of my childhood favorites. Like, I grew up on that movie. At 4, I put Peter Pan. I think that's a timeless classic. Especially like that's like peak Disney. It's iconic. And I mean, even the spin-offs, right? Like Hook, like with Robin Williams, that's iconic. I don't count it, but the original.
Anything
Peter
Robin
Pan.
Williams, right? Am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is a pro Robin Williams show.
If you're not pro Robin Williams, just stop watching.
Yeah. That's for sure. Then at 3, I had Wall-E. I think it's a great movie. Like, I think it's properly rated on that list. Maybe not number 1. Number 1's a little high, but, you know, it's a top 5 movie, you know, in terms of like the main character, the quote unquote love interest, I guess. I mean, like, the whole plot, like, it was excellent, like, top to bottom. Second best Pixar movie of all time, third best Disney movie.
Wow.
Best Pixar movie though to me was Ratatouille. And that's That's a personal favorite of mine. Man, Kenny's over here cringing.
So you have Wally over Toy Story then.
It's because he's freaking like 50 years old. He doesn't know about any of the good Disney movies from the mid 2000s.
I did.
I don't look that old.
Wow.
50's harsh.
And then number one on my list, Aladdin. Again, we're very pro Robin Williams here. It's the villain was fantastic. The plot's great. The main character is great. It's a perfect Disney movie. Perfect.
So I'm really glad it wasn't like, hey, it's exactly the same and we're not level-headed here, because there's definitely some difference of opinion. Yeah. Miles, I figure you're going to be different as well. What do you have in your top 5?
Ooh, okay. So my top 5, and I mean, I kind of alluded to this because I was big on the mid 2000s mostly, even like the early 90s, sort of that's what I grew up on. But I'm going to go straight to a classic at number 5, which is one I revisited kind of as I got older, and that's 101 Dalmatians. I love that movie, and I think just if you fill a movie with a bunch of dogs, I mean, how could it go wrong? Like, honestly, I love that movie so much, and I like to
That's
watch
like the best argument ever.
Yeah, like you just throw a bunch of dogs in a movie.
Talking about how on point that was.
and it works out. Number 4, I'm gonna go Ratatouille. I think that whole I love how original Disney gets, and there's nothing more original than a mouse that cooks. And when you think Ratatouille, ratatouille, like that was just, as a kid, I was like, holy crap, like that blew my mind. And I'm like, now I'm like, it's kind of cheesy, but I mean, I guarantee you, everyone that was like a young kid at that time was like, holy crap, Disney is a genius for that. But at number 3, I'm gonna go with The Incredibles. That's the closest thing you can get to a superhero movie and like an original Disney product. I mean, it's legendary. I'd say the sequel was a little bit better almost, but maybe that's just because it was so hyped up for a long time and it delivered once it came out.
That's true.
But I'll stick with the original because, once again, that's what I grew up on. At number 2, I'm going to go Lion King, because that was probably the first Disney movie I watched, and I used to watch it almost every day. I mean, if you ask my dad, that was the thing that I love the most. But my number 1, the one I personally think I love the most, is The Jungle Book. Another classic that I watched the remake first, and I love the remake, and then I went and watched the original, and I love the original even more. I think that sort of classic cartoon feel is just, it's a little more like, it just feels like there's a little more spirit in it than, a bunch of CGI and Bill Murray voicing a bear. So I love the remake, but the classic is just my thing. So I'm going to go with The Jungle Book at number 1.
Okay. All right. And then that's definitely fair. I think Ratatouille finished up there in its ranking list. I don't think it cracked the top 50. So just to understand how bad that list was.
What?
If anybody has that ranking, I'm pretty sure it was like 60 or 70.
That's so bad.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible. Now, Dre, I'm going to bring you on, bud. What is your top 5 Disney movies?
Yeah, obviously, like you said, I guess depending on the age, what our answers are going to be. So, first off, I got a special shout out to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because that almost made it to my top 5, but it was very, very hard to leave out of my top 5. But one of my favorite movies growing up was The Three Caballeros. I don't know, I really like that movie, so I put that at number 5. Peter Pan as 4. The Emperor's New Groove.
That's definitely a good movie.
Like that movie a lot. I don't know why. It was really funny to me. I think it's got the Joe Dirt guy. I forgot his name.
Yeah, David Spade.
Yeah, that's the guy, and he's hilarious. So I really like that movie, and I think I've watched it a bunch of times. So I put that in my top 5. And yeah, then I just went the regular style. Number 2, Lion King, and number 1, Aladdin. So
yeah, pretty classic. I'll give you my
pretty basic with.
Go ahead.
Fucking Dre.
We all know how that Indonesian internet works over there, Dre. It's all good. But we all, a special honorable mention on my list before I give my top 5 was A Nightmare Before Christmas, because I am a big fan of that movie, and my wife's like number 1 all over the place with that movie. And I think for them it was like number 64 on the list or something crazy low. And I was, at that point, I really was just reading the list so I could tell you guys how upset I was. But my top 5, I have 2 different ones in my top 5 that have already been listed. So my number 5 is actually The Little Mermaid. I love that movie. I
That's
know
great.
Yeah, I mean, the songs just get stuck in your head, and it had a great story. I mean, what Disney movie doesn't? But I love The Little Mermaid. Number 4 was Toy Story for me. I think the music really gets me because if a song gets stuck in my head, it's in my top 5 so far. Coco was number 3 for me. I thought Coco was an instant classic. I can't stop singing Coco. And then number 2, Aladdin. Number 1, Lion King for me. So, I guess it is kind of dependent on age, like you said, Miles. But to have, well, let me ask this question: did anybody have Frozen in their top 10?
No.
Yeah, I mean, it was number 7 for this guy. Maybe he has daughters. I'm not
I-
sure, but the list it just drove me nuts. What were you gonna say?
My list, I had Frozen at 14. I had Little Mermaid at 11. I just couldn't get over how much I hated Flounder as a character.
I
So
love Flounder.
I couldn't. Flounder is just useless. Incredibles I had at 9. So like I wanted to put it higher. I don't know. I preferred more of the classic movies.
Shout out to one of the more recent movies. I was a big Hero 6 guy. I thought that was a pretty solid.
Yes.
Big Hero 6 was great, but it's not top 10 great for me.
Yeah, well, it was not even an original story because it was like Marvel comic first, but it was still really good. Like I thought it was fantastic.
And the more current movie too that I had in my top 10 was Moana. I rewatched it actually with my girlfriend last night. I thought it was still really good, so I think I had it at 9 or 10 maybe. So,
well, I had some diversity in there. Moana and Mulan were both in my top 10, so add some extra. Mulan is fantastic movie. I could watch that all day. Yeah. But all right, so we'll get off the Disney segment. If you're a sports at this point, you fast forward to this point in our show. But